So people think that spirituality is some form of escapism or running away from the reality. In fact, spiritualists are like Arjuna. We are warriors. We face our biggest fears. We face ourselves, which is the hardest to, right? Our own weaknesses and make them into strengths. So it applies to our corporate lives. It applies to our relationship, family lives. It applies to our friendships, our social lives, right? It actually empowers us to be effective in all of those. Srila Rupa Goswami, in one of his books, he mentions about Yukta Vairagya principle. That means dovetailing what we have in service to Krishna. I get asked a lot of times that, okay, you're a spiritual person, but here you're talking about money, money, money all day long. And so recently somebody asked me a question, so how does money and spirituality go together? And my answer was, Arjuna is not a poor man, Yudhishthira Maharaj is not a poor man, Prahlad Maharaj is not a poor man, right? And they're all devotees. And money is Lakshmi, Krishna's wife. So how can money be a bad thing? It's a misuse of it that is bad. So we can earn, we can be the best and the brightest, we can be entrepreneurs and doctors and CEOs and VPs and whatnot in corporate life, and we should be extremely successful, because Arjun, he didn't want to fight, but he fought with full vigor. Why? Because he told Krishna, Karishye Vachanam Tava. Krishna, I'll fight because you asked me to. This is for you, right? So when we go to corporate life and we are working, we should be the best. When we are studying, we should be the best, because we are studying for Krishna, we are working for Krishna, right? Then we are glorifying Krishna by being exemplary persons of society, of the world, global citizens, where people look at us and say, what's your secret? And that secret is a secret of Krishna consciousness. That's the way to convince people how glorious is this process of Krishna consciousness, by our own examples. When I was in the student government, I was, getting into spirituality, and I was like, should I get out? My spiritual master said, you don't have to say a word about Krishna. Just be a man of character. Be truthful. Be honest. Be respectful. And I just did that. And whenever I said, hey, we have a spiritual program, people would come running in, because what is, this guy's secret? Why is he so happy? Everybody knew I was going through all kinds of situations, but I'm happy, right? And that's the proof. So when you're in corporate world, like, people are getting fired left, right, and center, and everybody is scared of anxiety and uncertainty. You are not. Why? Because your source lies in the disciplic succession, lies in Krishna. And that's your secret, that's your confidence. When you exude that confidence, that speaks way louder than any philosophy. So you're actually at advantage sitting in a corporate office, at your work, giving access to so many people who would have had no access to Krishna otherwise. You are the representative of ISKCON, of the Brahma Madhava Gauriya Sampradaya, of this Krishna conscious movement. They're going to judge the entire Krishna conscious movement by looking at your character and your behavior and the way you deal with situation on a day-to-day basis. So we have to be strong. We have to be exemplary. And the way to balance work-life is to be Krishna conscious at all times, right? Now, that might be a little bit of pressure for somebody to think, oh, I'm not a pure devotee. I'm just starting out as a bhakta. I'm just a Kanishta Adhikari or whatever. Yes, but at our stage, to the degree we can be, to the degree we can carry Krishna in our heart. When we are, one thing I try to do is, I remember walking into a speaking engagement just a few weeks ago. And as I walked in through the door, the whole hall of 300 people were just clapping and clapping. And I was like, for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna, for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna, for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. So it doesn't get into my head. And somehow or other, even my TED talk, I remember, I was so nervous. I didn't want to speak. And I told my business partner, I'm like, not speaking. It's so many amazing speakers. I'm not going. And what happened was, I messaged my mentor and he said, don't be the center of attention. Remove yourself from the center and do it for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. And it's unbelievable, what happened on stage. I spoke something that I had no clue what I was speaking, but it turned out to be really nice. And I have had, even till date, I keep getting messages from people who saw that speech and want to be devotees. And I remember getting off stage, I didn't remember what I spoke. But whatever was inspired by Krishna had some effect. So that's the glory of being instrument. We might be tiny and insignificant, but when we connect with Krishna in our day-to-day activities, whatever we do, somehow the mercy of the disciplic succession flows through. And to the degree we are transparent medium, we see that effect on people. We have the Bhaktivedanta Hospital in Bombay. And it's such an example of brilliant doctors, brilliant professionals coming together, serving people with their skills of being, life-saving doctors, but also giving them Krishna consciousness. And people come out transformed, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. And that can happen in the education system, that can happen in the governments, that can happen in our work in corporate worlds, right? That's the glory of being a devotee. We can be the change makers and provide that missing piece that's missing in people's lives. And that missing piece is making them unhappy in the midst of all the material opulence that one can think of, all the time-saving softwares and apps and phones and gadgets. That missing piece of spirituality is that fish out of water. And as long as we can put the fish back in water, somehow connect people to Krishna in our relationships, in our work fields, in our through our children, through our families, that's the best service we can do as people and global citizens of today's world.